So The Happening.
Where to begin?
Yeah, where to? We can start at the beginning because the beginning is amazing. Like it's the best 5 minutes in cinematic history. Because it starts off kind of normal. It's just a couple terrible actors in a park.
Just sitting
One
there.
of them's reading a book, and then she's like,
"What page was
"What
I
page
on?"
was I on?"
And her friend's like, "You were at the part where the guy killed him and they were finding him," and then she says, "What page was I on?"
And then all of a sudden, everyone in the park stops. They just stand still.
Why is it that there was always one person...
And then one person starts walking backwards.
Well, not only that, one person walking backwards, but there's always one person who is completely conscious of everything going on around them.
Because movie. They had to have somebody be conscious.
It's so bad.
Yeah, so she's like, "What page am I on?" And she reaches up and grabs a pin out of her hair and then just shanks her neck. And in the background, my favorite part of that scene is her friend on the bench. As soon as she shanks herself, the friend just kind of is like, and looks away. She's like bored. And then the scene hard cuts to these construction workers who are just chatting, and they say the end of a joke like in every bad movie where it's like, "And I said that Jamaica guy could run," and everyone's like, "Oh!"
And then a body just wham!
And then they're like, "Jimmy fell," and they run over to it, and another guy falls.
Guy gets on his walkie. He's like, "We need a medic. I'm real freaking out right now."
And then another guy falls, and then anher guy falls.
The guy hits a dumpster on his way down, and then he steps back, and he looks up into the sky, and they're just person after person just diving off of the... Not even diving. They're just like walking off the edge and just
walking and going.
It's like what you would do if you were skydiving.
Yeah.
Except for no parachutes. You're on a construction site, and you look really, really stupid.
Yeah, and then it cuts to...
Hard cuts again.
To Mark Wahlberg in a
Mark
classroom.
Wahlberg being a high school science teacher.
And the conversation he's having is awesome, because he's like, "Bees. Guys, bees are dying. And there's no bodies. They're just gone." Stupid.
And they pull the teachers all into an auditorium. Mm-hmm. And the principal's talking to him. And they're like...
What's happening?
What's happening? There's been an event that's happening.
The amount of times they say either event or happening in this movie is ridiculous.
It really is.
It's so funny. Ugh.
Event happening. The event isn't happening.
Some weird event.
The event. Whatever's happening started happening, and whatever's happening is happening. Nothing happened. Could this really be happening?
Why is this happening?
Nothing's happened.
The event.
The tragic event.
How would you know if something were to happen? Like a world event?
Something's happening.
There's something happening. It's happening here.
At this event, why this happened?
So they pull him out, and then I think Mark Wahlberg goes home, and we get introduced to the worst actress in this movie, Zooey Deschanel. Like, her whole character is...
That's perfect.
It's just wide-eyed. Like, she even... The news is like, a lot of people have committed self-harm, and she's like, "It makes you commit suicide."
As if there wasn't anything evil.
Oh, yeah.
She says, as if there... And we thought it couldn't get more evil, or something like that.
And then now they're making themselves kill themselves. She looks like she's an airhead, because she keeps, like, just kind of not paying attention to anything, and then it seems like someone's like, "Zoe," and she's, "Oh yeah, I'm still in this scene," right? But after that, they get on a train, and they go to this middle of nowhere town and stop. They kind of stop, And everyone,
there's a group of train conductors.
There's a group of train conductors like in the foreground, and a ton of people just like standing. They're not even like doing anything. They're just standing there. It was like Shyamalan was like, okay, we're gonna shoot it from up here. You guys just kind of go over there, and train guys here. And they like didn't go in any direction. They're just standing there. And Mark Wahlberg comes up, and he's like, guys, what's going on? Guys, what's happening? And
what is this event that's happening? And
the conductors were like, we stopped, and they turned around, and he's like, what? You guys can't just give me one piece of information. They're like,
you guys can't give me one piece of information at a time. I need to know
everything.
What's going on. What's happening.
We lost in contact. And he's like, with who? And then it's like, everyone. It's so stupid.
Mark Wahlberg are together, and then John Wick guy and his daughter are there, and he's like, I'm gonna go look for her mom because we can't find her, and so you guys take my daughter. And then he like sets her daughter on the ground, and they're like have a moment, and then Zooey Deschanel like reaches forward for the daughter's hand, and he's like, don't take my daughter's hand unless you mean it. Mm-hmm. and then she enters Airhead, and she's like she doesn't say a word. I think she says okay or something stupid. And then he takes off with one group. They go with another group with these insane people, completely whack.
And then
they go to their greenhouse.
Yeah, they go to a greenhouse, and the crazy guy's like, oh, "Hot dogs get a bad rep. I love the shape of a hot dog.
The shapes of hot dogs are good. They give you protein. You get the protein from the hot dog. You get the mustard, babe."
And of course, he turns to the only girl in the room and goes, "Do you like hot dogs?" And she's like, "No." And he's like,
then he starts talking to his plants.
Yeah, and then they leave. But then it cuts to John Wick guy in a car, and
my god!
And they're just driving, and then these bodies are hanging from the trees out of nowhere.
And they should have been able to see it for like 10 minutes prior to that. And there's a girl in the back, and she just flips. Out. It's awesome. And then earlier in the movie, John Wick guy, math teacher, is like,
math riddle.
People love percentages.
I just threw some numbers at her.
He's like, what would happen if I gave you a penny every day?
Yeah.
That doubled for a month.
So
day one, number one penny.
This hysterical girl, he gives her a math riddle to try and calm her down. If I got a math riddle while I was watching people hang themselves, I would throw myself out of the car and just end it right there. Like, come on.
I'm gonna give you a math riddle, okay? And you're gonna tell me the answer.
You won't.
And then the driver punches the gas, and they hit a tree, and he ejects himself
dead on into a tree. Driver gets launched out of the front windshield.
Awesome.
And then the other guy who's in the front seat, everybody else in the car is dead.
Oh yeah.
Other guy in the front seat climbs out and sits down on the ground and starts cutting his wrist with the glass.
And you never see him again. He cuts his wrist with glass, and you never see him again.
That's the end of anything that happened with those characters.
And then it just keeps with Mark Wahlberg and his horrible, awful wife. After that, they go, and they're like, okay, well, the military base got attacked, too bad, so we have two other options. And then a car comes from there, and a car comes from there, and they're like, oh no!
And first of all, the guy who they used for the military could not have been a worse guy to use from the military.
He looked like
First of all, if you want to talk about the exclamation that he used when he hears that, literally everybody in the area is
cheese
dying.
And crackers!
Cheese and crackers! Cheese and crackers! Everybody's dying around
him.
him.
Military dude. But this scene, this prompts the best scene in the whole movie, when they take advice from the insane guy.
The insane guy uses binoculars to spy on their neighbors.
Yeah.
Who has a greenhouse and speaks to his plants.
And loves cylindrical objects.
And loves hot dogs because he likes the shape protein. And their protein.
Yeah.
They're
great
full of
quality
protein.
stuff right there. But what's great about that scene is that they stop and everyone's like gathered around this mom that listens to her daughter die or something. And the guy, the insane dude's like, it could be plants. And they're like, oh, yeah? And he says, yeah, they can communicate. A tree can talk to a bush, and a bush can talk to the grass, and they can kill you. And I was like, no. Split into groups again, and they're like, it's attacking populated places. So if we're in small groups, it won't get us.
But what's happening there when they're like, first of all, this is Mark Wahlberg having a bit of a brain seizure, and he's like,
Oh yeah, no, that's later. Because they split into groups, and then the private guy freaks out. He's like, "This is my firearm, and my firearm will never leave my side." And then he starts popping.
My
people.
firearm is no. He doesn't.
He pops himself, and then everyone starts grabbing the gun.
That's the craziest thing about this movie. It's not people coming up. It's one of the craziest things about this movie. It's not people just like coming up with weird ways to kill themselves, like diving into trees or anything.
Waiting their turn to kill themselves.
Yeah, somebody will. Like, Private has a gun. He's like, "This is my firearm, and my firearm is my friend. My firearm will not lose my side." And he starts going insane, pops himself in the head. Then you hear a bunch of gunshots. They're literally just waiting their turn to pick up his gun and to kill themselves.
And that is cemented by the scene earlier where a cop shoots himself, and a guy gets out of a car, walks up, grabs it, shoots himself, and then a lady stops, walks up, grabs a gun, shoots herself. Like, it's so bizarre. But anyway, so they get away from the wind, and then they get on top of this hill, and they see the other group of people, and they're like, "Oh, they made it!" And then all of a sudden they stop, and you're like, "Oh yeah, we're gonna get another suicide."
This guy walks over to like those lawnmowers that people would use on like golf courses,
riding lawnmowers, yeah.
And he goes and he turns it on, and it just starts rolling,
around,
rolling very slowly. And he walks up and he lies down in front of its path and lets it run over him. And Mark Wahlberg watches like.
And then they take off, and they get to a model home, which is a stupid scene. We're not even going to talk about that scene. And then the next scene, they get to another house with a crazy lady.
No. There's something before that because they pick up two other straggler kids.
That's right.
On their way.
That's right. There's two kids with them. Well, there's the two kids with them the whole time. They were with them the whole time, and then finally you get to really see them is in this next scene.
In this scene, they go up to this house and they're knocking on the doors and they're like, "We have a hungry little girl. We need to get her some food." And the people inside are like,
"You're crazy.
You're crazy. We're not going to let you in. Don't let that crap in our house."
So Mark Wahlberg decides to sing to them to prove he's normal.
What does he sing?
He's like, "Oh, black water, keep on running."
Oh yeah, he sings
and
Black
he's like,
Water.
We're normal, see?
Oh, black water, keep on rolling. Mississippi moon, won't you keep on shining on me?
And then it just cuts to them going somewhere else.
Yep.
They go to another house, and there's a crazy lady there.
A really crazy lady.
And she's like, "I'm going to cook you guys some food." And they sit at this table, and she literally cooked them bread and bread. She gave them biscuits and toasts for dinner. And she says, "I hope this was a sufficient meal. And I wanted to bash my brains against a corner of a desk."
And a little girl reaches for the lady's teacup, or maybe for a biscuit. She slaps her hand because that's just what people do when they reach for things without asking.
No.
They're like, no, gotta ask. Don't take what's not yours, right? And so they start staying in this house with
crazy lady.
With insane
crazy
woman.
Lady.
And they go upstairs, and Zooey Deschanel's like, I didn't like how she hit the kid. How could she just hit a kid like that? That's so bad. She's such a bad
kid
person.
that they just adopted. Like, I don't know. They just adopted this child, and now they're like, "I can't believe she hit this kid. Oh, I don't like this house. I don't like this lady."
One more thing about this house is when the lady let him in, she was like, "We used to let the slaves run away here."
Yeah.
And so we have this speaking tube.
We have a tube inside our basement that can talk to a shed, like 30 feet from the house.
It was more than 30 feet.
Oh, yeah, it was way long. But so Zooey Deschanel and the fake adopted girl are out there, like, playing, and Mark Wahlberg has a conversation with them through the pipes.
And
somehow.
And he's like, Zoe. What's her name?
No, it sounds like they're in the same room.
Yeah, it sounds like they're in the same exact room.
Like behind the camera talking to each other.
And he's like, "You guys need to get inside. And so they both run inside of the house, and then he's like, close the door. And the little girl's standing there at the door. And the wind like in front of the door, and she's like, "Ah!"
It like tries to jump scare you at the wind. And then Mark Wahlberg decides that he wants to be outside. So he walks out, and the wind's blowing.
He's like, "If I'm gonna die, I'm gonna die next to you."
And he walks to the house, And he gets them and walks back into the house, back into
all
the
okay.
basement, and they're fine. And it never explains it, and never even attempts to tell you why they didn't kill themselves. Like, they just
I wish
walked
they
out.
would have killed themselves.
I know, that would have been awesome. There's almost no redeeming qualities. Like, the soundtrack in it is okay sometimes. Some of the shots were fine occasionally. The John Wick guy was not terrible in the movie, but literally everything else has no redeeming qualities.
I wouldn't even call those redeeming qualities.
No, they're not
though.
redeeming. They're
It's
just
like,
kind of hit and miss.
Like that scene where it's zooming into the map. It zooms in on a map.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
That has the affected area dots,
like
on
dots.
it. And it zooms in on the map. And that would have been the time where you go for an overhead shot
and
onto
cut
the area
down.
that they're in.
Kind of like The Shining, where it's over the hedge maze and then it goes down into the actual hedge maze. But no, this one zooms into a dot and then just cuts to an angle like that.
Cuts to an angle like that inside of some trees.
Yeah.
And that's when they drive the car into the tree.
Yeah, that's right. But yeah, this movie just sucks. Everything about this movie sucks.
I can't think of a single redeeming quality.
Like, add up those three things, half decent soundtrack, half decent one performance, and then like an okay, I guess, concept, and you get
it was an okay concept until it was plants.
Until it was plants and environmentalists and M. Night Shyamalan like pushing his agenda down your throat with like a cane, just ramming it down your throat. So in the end, I think I would probably, after dwelling on it, initially I hated everything about this movie, but after dwelling on it for a little bit, I think I'd probably give it like a 2.
I can muster up a 2 instead of a 1.
I would almost like want to give it a 1 because I hate it, but like 25% of it is amazing. The other 75% is just boring.
But what's the 25%?